Okay guys, so we have another camera on the table. This is the Nikon D7000. As always, we're gonna take it apart completely. Since this video is very long, I will focus on the main components, and the other components that come with the back, with the top, with the mirror box, or with the shutter unit, I will put them in a different video. So make sure you are subscribed in order to be notified when the other videos are available. And before I start, I want to thank to all the supporters of the channel. Thank you very much. That's very appreciated. And also to all the subscribers, we have reached 800 plus subscribers, which that's really good. Thank you. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy this tutorial. Make sure you take all the necessary notes in order to understand how can you service and repair your own Nikon D7000. Okay, so first step, make sure you don't have any memory left inside the camera. The second and important step is by not leaving the battery inside. Next step is by taking off the battery cover. You just need to pull off in this way. Okay, so now we will prepare to take off the covers. We'll start with bottom. On this camera, the first cover that needs to be off is the bottom cover. Or the screws on this cover are all the same, unless the last one, which we will see it later. This one is slightly longer. As you can see, very easy step. The cover comes off very straightforward. Next, we will prepare to take the back of the camera off. But first, we need to take this little rubber cover out. As you can see, there's a screw underneath here that needs to be pulled out. Another two screws on the side. These screws are both the same. And there are another two underneath the memory card door. In that case, we can reach these other screws. Also, these ones are the same length, same type. At this point, we can pull out the right hand side cover, this cover here. So if you need to replace it, this is the way to do it. Going forward with the teardown, in order to be able to take off the back cover of the camera, we need to take some of the some extra screws out. These two screws, and the next one also is the same. There's another one on the left hand side top corner. Same type and length. At this point, there are another two screws underneath here on the sides. The back of the camera now is free, but be very careful. In order to put it out, you don't need to pull it with put too much pressure on pull it out. Since there are two flat cables underneath, we must be very careful. You just need to slide up the cover in this way and disconnect the two flat points connectors. And now the back is free. On another video, I will show you how to take off all the components on the back of the camera, including the LCD screen. Make sure you subscribe for be able to be notified when that will be available. So next step, we need to discharge the capacitor of the camera. Very probably the capacitor it might be charged. So other than risking to get a shock ourselves, we can also create a short into the camera, and then further on we might create further damage to the boards. Okay, so next step, we are preparing to disconnect the main board by disconnecting all these flex cables. There's another flex cable underneath here. Next, we need to disconnect this power cable. Once all the flex were disconnected, now we can continue with taking out the screws. On this at this point, all the screws are the same. The screws that holds the motherboard. The way Nikon designed the motherboard, the way the motherboard goes get installed to the camera, there's one thing that I might not agree with, and that is the two flat cables are actually the last flat cable, the one flat cable on the top right hand side. The way they put it, I see it a bit difficult, and if you don't have experience or you don't have enough experience, you might risk to damage the flat cable while you're trying to put it back, while you try to put the motherboard back in. At this point, once we took the screws, very gently from the left, open slightly the cover and ensure everything comes out smoothly, keeping in mind that the two flat cables are still in place even if the connectors are opened. But yeah, this is the way to take the motherboard out. Okay, so if you need, next we're gonna need to take the front cover off. Not necessarily taking the covers at this point. You can skip this point if you want, just because I always try to find an order of the tear down, but in this case, for whatever reason, I decided to take the front cover off. And before doing this, there are some other steps on the other side of the camera that I could do, but you're gonna understand the point. The reason of the tutorial is just to understand the steps on how to disassemble the camera. As I said, I'll always try to make a logic way to disassemble the cameras, but sometimes I also get stuck, and I might skip some steps, or I might do steps in a different order. So this is the front cover. Basically, by taking this off, you're gonna be able to take the sides, the left cover and the right cover on the front panel. But then I decided to go forward with the disassembly of the part on the back, even because we need to, in order to release the top cover, we need to do some other steps. So this is the flat that connects between the image sensor and the power board. I believe that's the image sensor power board. There's another main board on the power board, DC power board on the top of the camera, which we're gonna reach it later. Next, we're gonna disconnect this cable in order to just take it out of our way. This is the speaker cables, speaker wires. Next step is by taking out the image sensor. We have 3 screws that hold the sensor. One thing that I like on Nikons is that the manufacturers are trying to give the correct distance directly. They are trying, I believe they are machining the correct distance between the back of the lens and the image sensor, the distance in between, just to calibrate the right distance. I believe they are counting everything before assembling the image sensor, and they machining the correct position. because they don't use, in some cases you might see spacers underneath here between the 3 points of the connections where we need to put the screws, but in this case there's nothing, absolutely nothing. The point of the calibration point of the sensor is near to 0. You might have seen the shutter unit on this camera is damaged, so that's the main reason I wanted to disassemble the camera. But since I had it, I decided to make a tutorial on a complete teardown. So next we're gonna take the left cover of the front of the camera. That's one of the screws that we need to take off. There's another one here. Slightly different. At this point, the left, actually the hand handle cover, it's free. Another good thing that Nikon did on this camera is that you can, if you need to replace the shutter unit, you don't necessarily need to take off the image sensor. There's a hole where the screw that disconnects the mirror box, it's made in purpose, so we're not gonna need to take off the whole, disassemble the whole camera in order to reach the mirror box. But with the next version, 7100, they changed that. So after that model, you're not gonna be able to take off the mirror box without taking off the image sensor. So at this point, the left cover is free. We just need to take off the screws. Be careful with that cable. That cable is for the mic. In case you need to replace the microphone, that's the way to do it. Next, we will take off the top cover. There's another screw on this other side. At this point, the top cover, and actually there's another screw hidden underneath the viewfinder optic adjustment knob. At this point, very gently, there are some other connections wires. We have one quick connector, and in this case, we're gonna need to desolder 2 wires. Nikon is using a very high temperature on their lead. You need to use on your soldering iron a very high temperature, somewhere above 350. Okay, so now that we got rid of the soldered wires, we just need to disconnect this connector, these wires, and the top of the camera is free. I will make a separate video for this on showing you how to take apart all the components on the top cover, so make sure you subscribe for be notified when that video will be available. So as you can see here, we need to warm up this point in order to be able to disconnect the flex cable. The temperature I'm using on the heat gun is 150 degrees Celsius or 302 Fahrenheit. I'm not speeding up this process just to show you how much time I make in order to ensure the double tape it's enough, warm enough to be able to disconnect the flex cable. Very gently, you have to pull this out, and at this point the flex cable is free. Next, we are preparing to disconnect the mirror box from the middle frame. By the way, all the screws are the same. We have some others on the front, down here. Also, these ones are the same type. And there's this last one here. This is different, very short and tiny. At this point, the mirror box, it's free. Also, for the mirror box, I will make a separate video for talking and trying to disconnect different parts. Same for the shutter unit. I will make a video for showing you how to replace the shutter blades. So again, make sure you subscribe. You're subscribed or you subscribe to see those other videos as well next to come. Next, we're gonna take this plate off in order to reach the the microphone and audio jack, I believe. And there's another screw. There are three screws. The two screws that we took off earlier are the same. This one is different. As you can see, it's very small. Make sure you disconnect this hooking point. And this this bracket, should I call it? Now it's free. In order to make the next step, we definitely have to do this, what we did just did now. Our next step is to take this this board out from here. There's one screw that holds this board at this point, which is this one here. Another tiny screw. And here it is. Basically, we have microphone connection here, and we have also the audio video output. And if you have this point at this connectors, these jacks are damaged, you can either fix them by replacing them, or if you have a damage with the whole board, you just you can replace the whole board now. There's another point here where we can take this plastic cover for the eyepiece. This can be took it out at any moment, but I'm just creating new steps here. The two screws are both the same. Basically, this is the middle frame, the last bit left from the camera. I'm just taking out all the two power boards left. This bracket, since it's loose, there's a high risk to come off and lose it. I just decided to took it off. Okay, so here there's one problem. Just because I didn't want it to take a little board, I'm going to show you a little bit later. Definitely we need another, again, the heat gun here to warm up the double tape. I'm using the same temperature, 150 Celsius and 302 Fahrenheit. Be careful here because the plastic is very soft, and if you get too close, you might risk to melt this plastic shield cover, whatever the reason of this is. And also, when you take it off, you will see I've made a small damage here. Don't push too hard, just leave the double tape to release itself. Basically here, there's another tape underneath, and I decided to take it off completely, and as you can see, I just broke part of the underneath tape. There's another tape. It's I believe it's a thermal tape, just to help with cooling down the camera in some way. But yeah, because I was lazy, I didn't took that that little board out. I decided to skip it, and then I broke the that tape. Well, that's fine. Now you know. Next time when you're gonna reach this point, you're definitely gonna decide to take the little board out before doing that step. So here we have this board, which basically this powers the image sensor. We need to peel off this this tape in order to disconnect the flex cable. And next we will need to take off those two wires. Four screws, all the same. This is different actually, slightly smaller. Okay, so we got this bolt out. If you need to replace it, this is the way to do it. For whatever reason, I just realized my camera didn't record the next step. So in order to maintain the sequence and show you the next step, I decided to open up the camera again just to reach that point, just because I'm picky and I want to show you everything, how it's made step by step. These things happens all the time, so it's normal. It's just deciding. It took me longer just deciding to open up the camera than doing the proper work. So underneath here, as you can see, there is this cover. Nothing, it's just a plate, a cover, but that it's quite crucial to understand the next step, which basically we're gonna be able to release the those black and red power cables. So we have one screw here, and that should be it, and then we can release this this cover. Underneath here we have, as I was saying earlier, we have the two black and red wires, which they need to be released, and also there's another flat cable that will help to be able to disconnect that flat cable. It's a bottom battery pack flat cable that connects with this power board. This is the main power board. Another thing that I did with the desoldering of the wires, in order to, even if the temperature was high, I was still struggling to desolder the wires. What you can see here, I have a low melting point lead, and by mixing those together, I can drop the temperature, the melting temperature of the original lid or on the camera. And the reason I was doing that was to not risking to damage the wires and also damage this power board. I'm starting with this point where by releasing this screw, we can take this this plate, this bracket. We can take this bracket away. There's a double tape underneath on the left hand side, and by doing so we're gonna have more space to disconnect the flat cables underneath the power board. The screws on this board are all the same. Now we have to flip it up back, as I'm doing next. I'm just preparing to ensure everything is disconnected to not create any kind of damage. I'm struggling a bit because I had to release the black and red wire in order to be able to flip it back. You will see next that once I release that cable, this power cable, the DC power board, it's free, and I can flip it back in order to disconnect the underneath connections. There is a flat cable underneath. That flat cable connects with the bottom of the camera, which is the connection point of the battery pack. So this is it. If you need to, if you have problems with this, this is the way to do it. Definitely, you don't need to disconnect the whole camera in order to reach this point. You don't need to take the image sensor. You just need to go straight to the right hand side of the internal of the camera and just open up the other components in order to reach this point. Okay, so this is the last bit left on the middle frame. This is for the screw, the plate with the screw that holds the camera when it gets mounted to the tripod. So if you have a damaged screw on the camera, it's quite rare when this may happen. But if you have a damaged screw, thread on the screw, this is the way to do it. Definitely, you don't need to open up, disassemble the whole camera. It's just you just need to reach this point and disconnect the that plate. The last part that we have left here, and into this video, I am gonna separate the shutter unit from the mirror box. In another video, I'm gonna show you how to change the blades. Basically, I will record the changing of these blades. If the for the shutter unit, if the shutter unit has a low counting, we're gonna be able to use it just continue our counting with the aging of the shutter. So I will make another video for the mirror box where I'm gonna take some other components left on the mirror box, whatever it can be disassembled, easily disassembled, because I don't want to go too much in details, otherwise sometimes it might be confusing. And again, if you want to watch the other new videos coming, make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And also, by the time I get I finish the other videos, I make the other videos, if you want to add something on the comments of this video, just write it down. Okay, so here we disconnected this flex cable in order to release the shutter unit. We have to take this flex cable out. There's a screw, a hidden screw here. Be careful not to open up the wrong screw. As you can see, there's just some steps on disconnecting those two wires, black and white. You don't need that high temperature that I was using before. It's enough to have like 300 Celsius degrees. So we have here two screws, the one I took now and this other one. And also make sure you disconnect. I was explaining earlier, but we've seen that step on the left hand side. As you can see, that flat, well, I'm holding it with the left hand side sticking out. That one, it's also connected with it's soldered to the mirror box. So this is it. I would be curious if you ever fixed a Nikon D7000. How did you fix it? Did you find it easy? What was the problem in your case? Just let me know. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.